This video is on representing data using stem and leaf plots. A stem and leaf plot is just a simple way of graphing data. Let's look at an example. So here's our example. Boys in Sam's class did a long jump and got these results. And we have a data set made up of 10 data points. Draw a stem and leaf plot to represent the data. So to begin the stem and leaf plot, we first of all draw a little chart. And the chart looks like this. At the top of the chart, we write in the headings stem and leaf. And I want to use the stem and leaf to group the values from my data set into sensible groups. Now, if I look at my data set, I can see that I have values starting with 2 point and 3 point and 4 point and 5 point. So it might be good to have groups of, for example, all the numbers that start off with 2 point something, 3 point something, 4 point something, 5 point something. So I'm going to put those values in the stem. So my stem here is going to consist of 2, 3, 4 and 5. In the leaf part of the diagram, I'm going to put in the decimal part of each number. So when I go through my data set, I've got 2.5, 2.7, 2.3, 2.5 and 2.8. Next, I go through my data set for the numbers starting with 3, and these are 3.2, 3.6 and 3.6. Next, the 4s, there's just one of these, 4.5, and finally the 5s, again there's only one, and it's 5.0. Notice that when I look through my list in the leaf for each section, they're not in order from smallest to largest. So this initial stem and leaf is just my rough work stem and leaf. And I'll need to do another stem and leaf that will be my final tidied up ordered version. So I'll draw my stem and leaf again, and I just need to finish it out properly by organising my leaf lists in order from smallest to largest. In this example, that's pretty easy because it was just that very first row that needed sorting out. There's one last thing that I need to include to fully complete my stem and leaf, and that's what's called the key. The key explains to somebody who's not familiar with the information how they should read the table. For example, at the start here we have 2 and then our line and 3. What does this mean? Well, we can write the key as 2 line 3 equals 2.3 meters. There's more than one correct key for any stem and leaf diagram. For example, I could say 5 line 0 equals 5.0 meters. For simplicity's sake, I'm always going to use the first one. Notice that in my stem and leaf diagram, I didn't put any decimal places. The line in the stem and leaf, the vertical line, is doing the job of the decimal place in this example. So in this example, a class did a science quiz and got the following scores. And we have our data set listed out here. Use a stem and leaf plot to represent the data. So like before, we'll do our rough version first, and then we'll tidy it up and put things in order to get our final version of the stem and leaf. So our data set this time is a little bit different from the last time around. There's no decimal place. That's fine though, that doesn't stop us from creating a stem and a leaf. This time if we look at the scores, they tend to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. So we're going to use the 10s as the stem. And then we'll use the unit part of the numbers for the leaf. So 56, 78, 82, 82, 90, 94, 93, 67, 67, 69, 74, 77, 92, 88, 81, 83, 84, 77 and 72. And again, I can see that there's a lack of order here in my rows in the leaf, so I'm going to just sort that out and create my final stem and leaf plot. So in my final version, my stem will stay the same, and I'll just tidy up the leaves. Notice in both my rough version and my final version how I'm managing to line up my numbers in nice, neat columns. Okay, so I'm nearly there. I have my stem and leaf plot all tidied up, but there's something missing, something extra that I must include to get full marks. Can you think what it is? It's the key. So what do you think the key would look like this time around? So this time my key would be 5/6 equals 56 marks. Often I can be asked questions about stem and leaf graphs also. For example, I might be asked what is the range of the data in the stem and leaf. Well, we've looked at finding range before. We know that it's just the largest value minus the smallest value. Just be careful when looking at your stem and leaf to realise that the largest value is the stem and the last number in the leaf. So my largest value here is 94 and the smallest value is 56. So in this case, the range is 38. If I have units, I can include them here, and in this case, the units are the marks the students got. I could also be asked, what is the mode of the data? So I know mode is the data that occurs the most number of times. There are 2 7s on this row. Don't forget, they're linked to the 6. They really represent 67. I have 2 7s on this row. Don't forget, they're linked to the 7 in the stem. So they really represent 77. And there are 2 2s in this row. And again, they're linked to the 8, so they really represent 82. So in this question, I actually have 3 modes. 67 is one of them, 77 is another, and 82 is a third. When we have a lot of modes in a set of data, we can say the data is multimodal. I could also be asked, what is the median? My approach to finding the median is just like what I would do if I had a normal list of data. First of all, I'd figure out n. N is just the number of pieces of data, the number of data points. To figure this out, I just need to count the number of pieces of data on the leaf side of the table. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I've got 19 pieces of data, so n equals 19. Remember, we have a rule for figuring out where the median is located, and this rule is n plus 1 over 2. So in this case, that's 19 plus 1 over 2, which comes out as 10. But don't forget now, 10 is not the median, it's just where I need to go to find the median. It's the 10th data point. Okay, so I'm going to go to my stem and leaf and count up through 10 data points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, just watch out. Don't give 1 as your answer. This isn't 1. It's linked to the stem. So really this represents the number 81. I could also be asked, what is the mean? Now, while a stem and leaf is a plot or a graph, it's also really a list of data. It's a list of numbers. So when I want to calculate the mean, I'm going to use the same formula that I used for the list. And I'm going to lay it out by listing summation x, n, and x bar. Summation x is just adding up all my pieces of data. Again, just be careful as you do this to remember that the values are 56, 67, 67, 69, 72, and so on. Don't make the mistake of just adding up the numbers in the leaf. So when I add all of these values up, in this case I get 1506. There are 19 pieces of data, and so I divide 1506 by 19 to get my mean, which in this case is 79.26 marks. Now I've rounded my answer off to 2 places of decimals. Just keep your eyes peeled in the questions so that you round off to the correct number of decimal places required by the question.